A phone buzzed in people's pockets at random moments for 2 years. 2 questions every single time. What are you doing right now? And what is on your mind? 2,250 adults answered. 250,000 moments went into the file. Here is what came back. Almost 47% of their waking hours, people were thinking about something other than the thing they were doing. But the second finding is the one that should stop you. When the mind wandered, people reported being less happy. And not on unpleasant thoughts only. Pleasant ones did it too, because a daydream about something good left them no happier than staying with the task in front of them. Killingsworth and Gilbert, 2010. And you know the state they were measuring. The shower water went cool while you were on the third version of what you should have said. The exit came and went. Somebody said your name twice before you heard it. So half your inner life happens somewhere else. In a conversation that never occurred. In a room you have never stood in. With a person who has no idea they are in it. Here is the part nobody tells you though. That same machinery is not a glitch. It is the most expensive thing your brain builds. And whether it feeds you or drains you, comes down to one distinction almost nobody makes. Psychologists have a name for the process. Constructive episodic simulation. Your brain taking pieces of what happened and assembling something that has not happened yet. Stay with me, because I am going to give you 5 things that scene in your head is actually doing, the price it quietly charges, and 1 question that tells you in about 2 seconds whether you are rehearsing your life or replacing it. Start with where the scenes come from, because it is not where people assume. Daniel Schachter and his colleagues, 2007. Remembering the past and imagining the future run on the same network, same hippocampus, same default mode regions lighting up for a memory of last Tuesday and a fantasy about next Tuesday. The clean proof came from people who had lost that hardware. Hassabis and Maguire tested patients with hippocampal damage. Ask them to imagine standing on a beach and something strange happens. They give you fragments, blue, sand, a sound. What they cannot build is a scene because the parts refuse to hold together. So the imagined conversation is not an escape from reality, but memory running forward. Your brain is not inventing that person's tone of voice. It heard that voice before, which explains why the fake scene feels so real. It is made of real parts. Now the second thing, and this one costs you something. Capps and Oettingen, 2011. Volunteers spent a few minutes imagining an idealized future. Not planning it, just enjoying it. Then, the researchers measured systolic blood pressure, which is a standard readout for how much energy the body is mobilizing. It dropped. The fantasy relaxed them, which means the body was reacting the way it reacts to arriving. And the follow-through matched. Oettingen and Mayer had already tracked graduating students. The ones who fantasized most about landing the job sent out fewer applications, got fewer offers, and 2 years later were earning less. Oettingen saw it again in a weight loss program, where the women who most often pictured themselves already thin lost the least over the year that followed. Your brain does not keep a separate folder for imagined success, so it counts part of it as collected. And a body that believes it has already arrived stops packing. Third, the content is not random, and this is where the scenes get useful. Eric Klinger spent decades sampling what people think about, and the same pattern kept showing up. Wandering thoughts track current concerns, unfinished goals, anything you have committed to and have not closed, which means the scene running on a loop is a receipt. The conversation you keep rehearsing is the conversation you have not had. The room you keep re-entering is a room you left something in. People try to stop the loop, but the loop is a symptom of the open file, not the cause. Fourth, and here is where the line gets drawn between an ordinary mind and something clinical. Eli Summer named it in 2002. Maladaptive daydreaming. 6 patients whose inner worlds had become more absorbing than the outer one. Then Beagleson and Summer took it to a large sample. 340 people who called themselves excessive fantasizers. Here is the finding that matters for you. What separated them from everyone else was not how much they daydreamed. It was distress, loss of control, and the trade-off against real life. Same behavior, yet a completely different consequence. They also found the physical signature: pacing, rocking, movement while the scene runs, and music, because for most of that group, a particular song opens the door in seconds. If a certain track sends you straight into a scene, that is not a quirk. That is a documented trigger. Fifth, and this one decides which side you land on. Raymond Marr and his colleagues, 2012, asked, "Who is in your daydreams?" Daydreams about close people, people who are actually in your life, went with less loneliness and higher life satisfaction. Daydreams about people who are not in your life went the other way. More loneliness, less support. Julia Poerio found the same thing from the other direction. Imagining someone you love left people feeling happier and more connected afterward. So the fantasy about your partner is not the same act as the fantasy about the stranger who will finally recognize you, even though both feel identical from the inside. One warms a real bond. The other feeds one that does not exist. Now, the price. Killingsworth and Gilbert also checked the direction of the arrow. Mind wandering at one moment predicted a worse mood later. But the reverse did not hold, because being unhappy first did not predict wandering after. The order matters. The scene comes first. The drop comes second. Add the energy finding, and you get the real cost. It is not the time, though. 20 minutes is nothing. It is that the 20 minutes are subtracted from the same account the real version needed. And there is a social bill nobody mentions. The conversation you rehearsed 40 times often never happens at all. You have already been understood in there, perfectly, on the first try. So nobody in the actual room can compete with that. Here is where I break with every other video on this subject. The advice is always some version of stop imagining. That advice is wrong, and there is an experiment that shows exactly how wrong. Shelley Taylor and her team, 1998. Students facing an exam were split. One group spent a few minutes a day picturing the outcome, the grade, the relief. The other group pictured the process, sitting at the desk, opening the book, getting through the boring middle part. The process group studied longer and scored higher, though the outcome group did worse than students who did nothing at all. Same imagination, same amount of time, one camera angle apart. So the test is not whether you imagine, it is where the camera is pointing, which gives you the question, and it takes about 2 seconds. In the scene I am running right now, am I watching the result, or am I watching the first 5 minutes? The result is the applause, the apology, the message arriving, the version of you that already made it. The first 5 minutes is the awkward opening line, the number you have to dial, the page you have to open. If it is the result, you are not preparing, but collecting early. There is a repair, and it comes from the same lab that found the problem. Oettingen calls it mental contrasting. Run the fantasy, then keep going past the good part until you hit the obstacle, and say the obstacle out loud. Then attach it to a plan in the form of, if this happens, I will do that. The wish alone drains you, yet the wish with the obstacle attached is the version that moves. And ask one more thing. Did you walk into that scene, or did you find yourself already inside it? Researchers separate intentional from unintentional wandering, and the two behave differently. Chosen scenes cost you far less than the ones that open on their own. So go back to the shower and the cooling water and the third version of what you should have said. Almost half of your waking life happens in there. That is not a flaw to remove, because it is the same equipment that lets you plan, empathize, and remember anything at all. The goal was never to shut the room down. It is to stop leaving your energy in there and start bringing something out of it. Tell me in the comments which one runs more often for you. The conversation you rehearse, or the scene where you finally win?